Hi everyone, welcome to Module 1. If you haven't already, spend some time looking at the course tour and going over the syllabus, looking through everything that's there at the top of your Moodle webpage. I know that at first an online course, and some of you may have already done some, and it may feel old hat to you, but at first an online course can look a little intimidating in terms of all the mechanics, the logistics, the tech, and maybe you're all better than that than I am. But do have spend some time, set some time aside to figure out how the course works, to look at that tour, to spend some time with the syllabus especially, and feel free to be in touch with me through this site or on email. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. We're gonna talk today about scene, and I'm just gonna really talk briefly with you about what it is that I'm having you work on this week and why, and maybe give some pointers, some extra help. Scene, of course, is fundamental to fiction, and wherever you are in a story, you're in a scene, right? And you can think of it spatially. Where are you? In the exercise this week, I've asked you to imagine a place you know, so to write nonfiction in a sense, and you can fictionalize it. I'm not going to check and call your family and find out whether the scene you described is pure nonfiction. But what the idea is to balance some of the simultaneous things that are happening within a scene. And it's one reason I had you read this wonderful, very short story by Ann Beattie, Snow, because she's able to do a lot at once in a very small space, and without seeming to, without any strain. It's worth actually looking at some of the first few sentences of this and to discuss scene. Here's how Snow begins. I remember the cold night you brought in a pile of logs, and a chipmunk jumped off as you lowered your arms. What do you think you're doing in there? You said as it ran through the living room. It went through the library and stopped at the front door as though it knew the house well. This would be difficult for almost anyone to believe, except perhaps as the subject of a poem. Our first week in the house was spent scraping, finding some of the house's secrets, like wallpaper underneath wallpaper. In the kitchen, a pattern of white gold trellises supported purple grapes as big and round as ping-pong balls. All right, there's description here, right? What does the wallpaper look like? What does the chipmunk do when it jumps out of the firewood? What is this house? But there are other things going on too, right? There's a moment of reflection, of memory, of almost kind of meta story about somebody would only believe this if it were in a poem, and even dialogue, right? Imagining what this chipmunk would say if it spoke, and with that wonderful italicized "your," it's very tonally alive. And so there's more going on here than meets the eye. And I think that your discussions of the story this week will probably reveal some of exactly what's going on in this story. So there are three things I want to stress in terms of scene, and maybe this will help you to understand why I have you doing such strange procedures with the exercise this week and layering different versions of the scene into one, almost like taking a picture with very different filters and editing them together. I'm going to mention three fundamental aspects of scene that I want you to think about. One is that this layering of scene can simply serve us to convey what real life is like. In real life, different things are always going on at once. And background, the background on which action happens, isn't in real life a background. I look out, my window, and stuff's happening out there too. Potential short stories are going on right there. What you're doing when you're creating a story or a scene is you're marshaling all of that different action to serve a purpose. One purpose might simply be make it look real. The rain outside might not be a symbol. It might be, but it might simply give the feeling of what a afternoon is like when I'm here in my dining room talking to you through the wonders of technology. So scene and simultaneity create the feeling of reality. There's a smell, there's a sound outside, there's a sudden change in emotion. This creates the feeling of reality, of layers, of dimension. Okay. The second thing that I'm having you do this week is working on changing tone, changing emotional tone, having your narrator change emotions, and this is something, basically, we're working on improving our turning radius. In a really clumsy story, something very billboarded, very abrupt will happen. And then he pulled out a gun and everyone felt as scared, whereas they were feeling happy before. You want to be able to turn a little more subtly than that. And having these multiple aspects, including different emotional tones, will help you to create intensities, to create action at the smallest level. A tonal shift is a plot device at a very small level. Someone felt one way and then something happened and it turned. They remembered something sad. They were reminded of something desirous in the midst of their sadness. This is how action occurs. And of course, the reader gets interested. The reader wants to find out. If you're describing a chipmunk and there's a suggestion that there's a failed relationship behind this anecdote about a chipmunk, the reader might, we're all gossipy, aren't we? The reader might start to think, oh my gosh, I want to hear about this failed relationship, what happened, it creates suspense. And that's something, that I think that you'll experience as you begin to alternate these different component parts, that even on a very low level, there's, without a chase or stolen money or an adulterous affair or something, you're going to create an expectation in the reader of finding out what happened. She mentioned that truck outside, and it seemed to be important, even though the dialogue was the main thing happening there. Is that truck going to come back? These are effective techniques. And thirdly, so we've gone over, making it feel like real life, and keeping the reader interested as you change moods and alternate aspects of a scene. Lastly, I think that one thing that you can learn from this week is how to effectively convey information. Something can happen in bad short stories, or I should say, rough drafts that could be improved, which is friends of mine call the info dump, which is, a story that starts, Steve was 34 years old. He was just starting to go bald. He had a job that paid $75,000 a year. He was 6'1". He drove a Mazda. This very basic and rudimentary and not very successful way of telling your reader who the characters are. This is something that you can do much more effectively by layering, by using scene to create layers and to strategically provide info at points when you don't seem to be dumping it all onto the reader's lap. All right. Well, I'm really excited to see what you do with Scene. Lastly, I want to tell you that one reason I had you guys do this week is I think it's fun. I think that this exercise is a good way to get going. Even if you don't feel inspired, you can actually surprise yourself and find some aspects of a memory or of an impression or of the germ of a story that you didn't know were there, and that can get you going. And that's what I hope for you this week, and look forward to your being in touch. All right, take care.